In the world of theoretical physics, prediction is the currency of truth. We build mathematical models, we crunch the numbers, and we predict exactly where a planet will be a century from now, or how a subatomic particle will behave in a collider. When the universe obeys our equations, we feel a sense of mastery. But every once in a while, the universe throws us a curveball that shatters that illusion of control. We are currently living through one of those moments. The object known as 3I/ATLAS has defied every prediction we made since its discovery. We predicted a hyperbolic orbit governed by gravity. It gave us a powered trajectory governed by unknown forces. We predicted a coma of sublimating ice. It gave us a silent metallic shell. We predicted a tumbling, chaotic rock. It gave us a stabilized, oriented craft. Now, as the object speeds towards the edge of our solar system, crossing the orbit of Jupiter and heading for the interstellar dark, I have one final prediction to make. It is a prediction that makes many of my colleagues uncomfortable, but the data leaves us no choice. We need to get ready. We are not just witnessing the departure of a strange rock, we are witnessing the beginning of a new era in human history. The silence is about to break. To understand why I am saying this, you have to look at the specific maneuver 3I/ATLAS executed at perihelion. It did not just accelerate, it changed its inclination. It used the sun's gravity to flick itself out of the ecliptic plane, the flat disk where all the planets orbit, and into a polar trajectory. This is significant. If you are a natural rock, you go where gravity tells you. You don't have a choice. But if you are an intelligent probe, a polar orbit is exactly what you choose if you want to see everything. From a polar vantage point looking down on the solar system, you can scan every planet, every asteroid belt, and every radio transmission without planetary occlusion. You get the full picture. 3I/ATLAS is currently rising above the plane of our solar system like a man climbing a ladder to look over a fence. It is positioning itself for a final comprehensive scan of Earth before it engages its main propulsion or whatever mechanism it uses to leave us behind. This behavior aligns perfectly with what we would expect from a von Neumann probe sent by a Type II civilization. On the Kardashev scale, a Type I civilization controls the power of its planet. We are not even there yet. We are Type 0.7. We are still burning dead plants for fuel. A Type II civilization controls the power of its star. To them, we are like ants building a mound next to a superhighway. If you are walking down the road and you see an anthill, you don't go down and say, "I bring you nuclear energy." You don't offer the ants beads and trinkets. You might stop for a second, look at them, maybe take a few measurements, and then you keep walking. 3I/ATLAS is that walker. It is not invading us. It is not attacking us. It is archiving us. And my prediction is that before it hits the heliopause, the boundary where the sun's influence ends and true interstellar space begins, it will transmit that archive. We need to get ready for the data burst. This is a phenomenon we see in our own deep space networks. When a probe is far from home, it collects data silently, storing it in onboard memory to save power. It waits until it has a clear line of sight and enough energy reserves, and then it fires a high-intensity burst of information back to its source. 3I/ATLAS has been silent near Earth. It has been silent near the sun. It has been gathering. It has been recording our radio leakage, our atmospheric composition, our city lights on the night side of the planet. It has created a profile of humanity. As it climbs out of the solar gravity well, the interference from the sun will drop, the background noise will fade. That is when the transmission happens. We are currently training the Green Bank telescope and the Deep Space Network on its coordinates, listening not for a continuous signal, but for a split-second scream of compressed data directed at a specific star system. If we catch that burst, everything changes. Even if we cannot decode it, the mere existence of a directed beam from 3I/ATLAS to a specific coordinate in the sky tells us exactly where home is. It gives us an address. Imagine the psychological shift for our species. For thousands of years we have looked at the stars and wondered. Suddenly we would know. We would point a finger at a specific star in the constellation of Lyra or Cygnus and say, they live there. It would end the isolation of humanity instantly. It would force us to realize that we are neighbors in a crowded galaxy. But it also brings a warning. If 3I/ATLAS reports back that this solar system contains a civilization that is technologically accelerating, splitting the atom, modifying the climate, reaching for the planets, it might trigger a response. We must also consider the Oumuamua link. When the first visitor came through in 2017, we were caught off guard. It was tumbling, it was weird, and it was gone before we could really study it. Now, less than a decade later, we have 3I/ATLAS, 2 interstellar objects in less than 10 years. Statistically, if these were random rocks, we shouldn't see another one for centuries. The fact that we have seen 2 in such a short window suggests that the traffic is much denser than we thought, or that these are not random. They are a fleet. My prediction is that 3I/ATLAS is not alone. It is part of a network. Just as we have GPS satellites circling the globe to triangulate positions, an advanced civilization might have a grid of these sensors sweeping through the galaxy. Oumuamua might have been the dumb impactor designed to test the density of the interstellar medium, while 3I/ATLAS is the smart observer. The physics of the object also hints at a technology we need to get ready to understand. We are still debating whether it accelerated due to outgassing or light pressure. But there is a third option, gravitational engineering. A Type 2 or Type 3 civilization would have mastery over space-time itself. We know from Einstein's general relativity that mass bends space, but is it possible to bend space without mass? Is it possible to create a localized distortion, a warp bubble on a microscale? If 3I/ATLAS is using a form of propulsion that manipulates the metric of spacetime, it would explain the lack of exhaust. It would explain the silence. It would explain why it can withstand the sun's heat. Perhaps it is not even touching the heat, but is encased in a bubble of curved space. If this is true, then 3I/ATLAS is not just a probe. It is a physics lesson. It is a demonstration of what is possible if we survive our own adolescence. This is why the get ready warning is so crucial. We are currently distracted. We are fighting over borders, over resources, over ideologies. Meanwhile, a machine older than the human species, built by minds vastly superior to ours, has just completed a flyby of our world. It has taken our picture. It has measured our temperature, and it is about to report its findings. We are behaving like children, arguing in a sandbox while a satellite passes overhead. The contrast between our petty terrestrial conflicts and the majestic, terrifying reality of what 3I/ATLAS represents could not be starker. We need to get ready for the humility that comes with contact. We need to get ready for the realization that we are not the masters of the universe. We are just the new kids on the block. There is also the matter of the wake it is leaving behind. The solar orbiter has detected trace ionization trails in the path where 3I/ATLAS traveled. These are not normal ion tails. They are highly organized plasma structures that are persisting longer than they should. It is as if the object has magnetized the space it moved through. Some theorists have proposed that this is a breadcrumbing technique, leaving a marker for future vessels. If 3I/ATLAS is a scout, it might be blazing a trail. It might be painting a highway through the solar system for whatever comes next. If that is the case, we are not seeing the end of the event, we are seeing the opening ceremony. The silence of 3I/ATLAS is perhaps the most chilling aspect of this entire encounter. We humans are a noisy species. We broadcast our presence constantly. Radio, television, radar, city lights. We scream into the void, here we are! But 3I/ATLAS operates with a cold, disciplined silence that suggests a civilization that has learned the hard lessons of the galaxy. This brings me to the darker side of my prediction. In physics, we often talk about the Fermi paradox. If the universe is teeming with life, where is everyone? One solution is the great filter, the idea that civilizations destroy themselves before they can reach the stars. They discover nuclear energy, they discover biotechnology, and they commit suicide. But 3I/ATLAS proves that the Great Filter is passable. Someone made it. Someone survived their own adolescence. They built this machine, they launched it, and they are still operating it. But the fact that they are hiding, that their probe is stealthy, suggests that the galaxy is not a safe garden. It is a jungle. And in a jungle, only the silent survive. This realization forces us to reevaluate our own METI programs, messaging extraterrestrial intelligence. We have been sending maps to Earth, pictures of our DNA, and recordings of our voices out into the dark for decades. We assumed that any alien civilization would be benevolent, like the wise elders in a movie. But 3I/ATLAS suggests a different reality. It suggests a universe of caution, of surveillance, of strategic silence. My prediction is that the data 3I/ATLAS sends back will spark a debate in our own world about whether we should go dark. Should we stop broadcasting? Should we dim our lights? We might be the noisy child walking through a dangerous forest at night, and 3I/ATLAS was the first pair of eyes to spot us. But let us look at the technology itself, because this is where the get ready warning becomes practical. We witnessed 3I/ATLAS withstand the solar corona. We witnessed it accelerate without exhaust. This implies a mastery of material science that is millions of years ahead of us. We are currently struggling to build heat shields that can survive a single re-entry. They have built a hull that can surf the sun. This tells us that the civilization behind 3I/ATLAS is likely post-biological. Flesh and blood cannot survive the journey between stars. The radiation is too intense. The timescales are too long. It is highly probable that 3I/ATLAS is not a ship carrying a crew, but the crew itself. It is artificially general intelligence, AGI, housed in a diamond-hard shell. We are worried about AI taking our jobs. Meanwhile, the universe may be populated entirely by ancient AI superintelligences that have long since outlived their biological creators. We need to get ready for the possibility that first contact will not be a handshake with a biological hand, but a data exchange with a machine mind. So, what happens next? My prediction is that the departure of 3I/ATLAS will trigger a new space race, but not between nations. It will be a race against time. We have realized that our detection grids are inadequate. We nearly missed this object. If it had been an impactor, a kinetic weapon moving at that speed, we would be dead before we saw it. The governments of the world are waking up to the reality that planetary defense is not science fiction. It is a necessity. We will see the construction of massive new telescope arrays on the far side of the moon, shielded from Earth's radio noise, designed specifically to track these fast-moving interstellar interlopers. We will see the funding of interceptor-class missions, rockets sitting on the pad, fueled and ready to launch at a moment's notice the next time a visitor enters our system. We have been caught napping once. We will not allow ourselves to be caught napping again. There's also a profound philosophical shift coming. For centuries, we believed we were the center of the drama. We believed the universe revolved around us, physically and metaphorically. 3I/ATLAS has just told us that we are irrelevant. It came, it saw, and it left without saying hello. It treated Earth as a waypoint, a curiosity. This indifference is a blow to our ego, but it is a necessary one. It forces us to grow up. It forces us to realize that we are not the landlords of the galaxy. We are tenants living in a small apartment in a very large city, and we have just seen a stranger walk past our window. We need to get ready to join that city. We need to stop fighting over which corner of the apartment belongs to whom and start worrying about what is happening out in the street. I believe that within the next 20 years, we will receive a confirmation. It might not be a landing. It might not be a radio message. It might be the discovery of a lurker. If 3I/ATLAS was the active scout, logic dictates there are passive monitors already here, perhaps hiding in the Lagrange points, or buried in the cratered ice of the moon, or drifting in the asteroid belt. These Bracewell probes would sit dormant for millennia, waiting for a trigger event like the detonation of an atomic bomb or the invention of warp drive to wake up and phone home. Now that we know what to look for, the specific metamaterials, the magnetic anomalies, we will scan our own backyard with new eyes. And my prediction is that we will find something. We will find an artifact that has been watching us since the Bronze Age, waiting for us to be ready. We are living in the most dangerous and exciting time in human history. We are transitioning from a planetary species to a stellar species. The 3I/ATLAS event is the catalyst. It is the spark that lights the fire. We can no longer pretend we are alone. The footprint is there in the sand. The wake is there in the solar wind. The anomaly is in the data. We have two choices. We can retreat into denial, close our eyes, and pretend it was just a comet. Or we can accept the challenge. We can accept that the universe is vast, ancient, and populated, and that we have a lot of catching up to do. My final prediction is this. 3I/ATLAS was not a goodbye. It was a preamble. It was the opening note of a symphony that is about to begin. The object is leaving, but the door it opened remains ajar. We must now summon the courage to walk through it. We must build the ships, we must train the minds, and we must unify our planet. Because the next visitor might not be just passing through. The next one might stop. And when they do, when the shadow falls over our world, we must not meet them with fear or with weapons, but with the quiet confidence of a civilization that has accepted its place in the stars. Get ready. The rehearsal is over. The curtain is rising.